What's up, guys? I'm Tim Gettys. This is Nick Scarpino, and that is Greg Miller. We just saw Captain America Civil War. We got a lot to say about it. First off, as normal, we're going to do one of these reviews.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But spoiler-free in the beginning, then we get into the spoilers.
Yeah,
so real quick, going around the
before.
table. Greg, did you like it?
Yeah.
Nick?
Yes, I liked it.
I liked it a lot, too. So in a very spoiler-free-esque way, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I think my first surprise was that I was pleasantly surprised it was not Age of Ultron, in that Age of Ultron felt like nothing really mattered and it was just kind of a filler story, and there was no really, like, it was a lot grander than it should have been, really, and nothing really mattered at the end and the kind of whatever. This actually had a lot more heart to it, a lot more storytelling. It was a lot, it sounds weird, especially with all the Avengers fighting, but it was a lot smaller of a story, and I liked that a lot, and it incorporated a lot of other people. This is not spoilers, I think you've seen them all in the trailer, but a lot of the side characters that you didn't really think would come back or be pertinent, and they were able to, I think, integrate them in a way that was very fulfilling.
Yeah, I think overall it was pretty natural, and there was only a couple instances that I was like, oh, okay, this is a little bit forced, and I think that the plot overall, it did a good job of guiding things from place to place and like kind of moving it on. It was very all over the place in a classic comic book way, but
Sure.
I think that it wasn't until the end that I was like, okay. Like things kept happening and I kept going, so what? And then at the end I was like, oh, that's why. Cool. And I think that it was fulfilling in that sense.
Yeah, it was less, but I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to talk in vague terms, but I do want to dive into the actual storytelling and the actual like motivations behind what's going on, the nefarious sort of deeds that are being done behind the scenes. I liked all the characters.
The motivations that were behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and I was going to say that too, man. I liked that it wasn't. I don't think that everything needs to be as grandiose as
The end of
the
the
Avengers or the end of the world. Like it just, we don't need that all the time. And I'm glad that this wasn't that. I'm glad that this was more of a story about the characters and this specific set of instances that actually did kind of feel real. It felt that I can understand why, you know, Tony Stark and Captain America were at odds with each other. It felt a little forced at first because you're like, there's got to be a different way. Like there's got to be some sort of middle ground compromise here. But I was assuming they would kind of shoehorn Bucky in. The whole thing was going to be kind of about him, but it kind of wasn't. And I liked that. And when he was in it, you actually did kind of care about him, because up until this point, I didn't give a shit about Bucky. Yeah. I just didn't care. Like in Captain America Winter Soldier, I was like, God, this character is so bad. But then we see them, they spend more time together. You see Bucky, he's a more fully fleshed out character in this. And you actually start to, you're split because you like these characters. And I thought they did a good job at that.
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate how much it felt like a Captain America movie. And I think Captain America 1, I didn't really love it that much. I thought it was good. It was fine. Captain America 2 is definitely second place in my total ranking of the Marvel movies. Avengers is, number one for sure. But I think Captain America 2 is really when it found its footing for what a Captain America movie means. And I think it's way more character driven and it is way more smaller of a story. And I was concerned about this being, is this Avengers? Is this like half of what an Avengers could be? And I like that it very much was a Captain America movie in the sense that there was a lot of characters, but there was a lot of character development. There was a lot of character moments, and that was still what it was about. And it was always very, very tight knit and very about propelling each of the character storylines forward in a way that wasn't leaps and bounds from where they started, but there was a starting point and an end point that made sense contextually within the movie.
Sure. For me, I mean, that was to me is that it was the Captain America movie. Because I'm totally a hypocrite. Like the complaints people always lob about Superman, I lob about Captain America. I just find him, and I love Chris Evans' portrayal of him, don't get me wrong, but I find him incredibly two-dimensional. And I just don't have anything I really connect with this character on other than he's fighting the good fight, which I get. But like when I leaned over to you and made the joke of like, I paid to fucking see Spider-Man. Where is Spider-Man? That was like kind of real. I was just like, all right. Like it's all those, this is Avengers ended. And I was like, man, that sure is a B team Avengers. And here they all are doing stuff. Like, all right, Scarlet Witch is still doing, all right, cool. Can we just wear Spider-Man? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Paul Rudd. Oh, fuck.
Right.
This is, whoa. Hey, this whole thing's awesome. We got to go do our thing. We're going to stay here. Fuck. Fuck. No, don't leave all the cool. You left all the cool guys behind.
All right, so I think this is a good point to move right into the spoiler territory.
So now if you haven't seen it, cut it off.
Go away, come back later.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We all say go watch this movie. I will say that if the Spider-Man part didn't exist, I would have had no problem not seeing this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it still works. If you're a fan of the Marvel movies, this is obviously must see. I do think I'll start this off by saying I think that this.
So now we're in spoilers.
Yes, we're now totally in spoilers. I think that this changed my ranking, and this is now number 2.
Okay.
It goes Avengers and then this. I do think that there's still a far gap between Avengers and this. Number 3 is Captain America.
Winter Soldier.
What was it called? Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, what's interesting about this is you guys just reminded me it was in fact a Captain America movie. I actually thought this was I knew it was Captain America Civil War, but this felt more like an Avengers movie to me.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It didn't feel like a Captain America story because Tony Stark is so prevalent in it. And that's what I liked about it. And I will disagree with you on slightly. He is two-dimensional as a character, but I thought his motivations in this were interesting. And that's what you never see with Superman, right? Like Superman's always sort of like truth, justice in the American way. He goes against the government because of something he believes in. I think it's a very strong motivation for a character to have. And it should be, what's always fascinating to me about the Civil War concept is that it should have been opposite, right? Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the guy who is was as a product of the government is called Captain fucking America to go against the government, while Tony Stark, who came out and said I'm Iron Man, and they said you got to give us your suits, had a Senate hearing and was like, fuck you, I'm not giving you any of this stuff. I'm Tony Stark, I'm Iron Man, now wants to be accountable. I mean, they moved it in. We have that character development in the last few films where he's kind of gone through the traumatic experience. We see that these guys are getting bombarded by stuff, but it's just so weird that that's where those roles were.
Yeah.
See, but I feel like what you're saying makes sense. Yeah, I believe in the comic version, Captain America's motivations totally made sense. In this one, like we talked about it a little bit on the walk, right? Of just like, no one even brought up the fact that, well, no, we had an organized body above us called S.H.I.E.L.D., and they all turned out to be Hydra.
Yeah.
So no, we're not totally down with that. It was just like, well, what if the policies change or whatever? I'm like, yo, bitch, like they're making some points here. Maybe you should be listening.
Well, but I think the difference there is that like Captain America wasn't down with it. You know, Captain America was the one against it. Iron Man wasn't involved in all of that stuff. You know, and I know that like they're a team, but it's like he was outside still, and he was dealing with all of his traumatic bullshit, right? And it wasn't. Then they had the Age of Ultron situation.
I hear you, yeah.
I mean, it was really it was Steve and Bucky and Falcon that knew that stuff, and I really liked the sense of brotherhood between Captain America and War Machine and Falcon Iron Man, War Machine. Captain America, Falcon. I thought it had a nice dynamic between the two.
I mean, my favorite parts of the movie are all the Spider-Man stuff, and then it was Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, and then it was the one scene, it was every scene, I should say, of Falcon with Bucky. When will you move your seat up? No. And then they're sitting there and they like have that reaction to like Captain America kissing the girl. Well, and then after the Spider-Man fight, when they're lying there, he's like, I hate you or whatever.
It was great though, because that is the classic, triangle between here's a guy and here's the best friend and here's the new best friend.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like having them trying to deal with each other, where it's like they like each other, but they need to not like each other because there has to be a rivalry. And I think that they really nailed that dynamic, and it was funny. And again, that's what this movie was. It was funny. There was a
lot of humor,
lightheartedness to it that like it really came through. There was no joke that made me go like, because Age of Ultron had a couple that I was like, oh man,
language.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like language either.
At all. But I thought all the jokes really hit in this, and like Spider-Man, come on, man, like he's obviously.
I mean, like that was the thing. Is like he was such a standout of like, holy shit, why isn't this whole movie that? I can't wait for that movie now.
I didn't feel that way initially though. When Peter Parker was first introduced, I was a little caught off guard because I've seen pictures of the actor. I'm not familiar with him from any other movie.
Yeah.
And I just expected him to sound different and act different. So it took a second for me to adjust to what I kind of imagined in my head.
Sure.
And I've heard good things about Spider-Man in this movie, and it was like, oh, this is the best Spider-Man, this is the best Peter Parker. I didn't necessarily get that this is the best Peter Parker.
I see. I thought it felt the most natural Peter Parker at first blush. Based on what 15-20 minutes of him being Peter Parker and Spider-Man, like him fumbling for words with Tony in there, their whole interplay of like with the costume and stuff, then him being on the scene or whatever, and just like having like being hey cat, like big fan, or we're talking to Captain, and then like when he's talking to Falcon, and Falcon's like, I don't know how many fights you've been in, but there's usually not this much talk. It was fucking awesome.
So my thing is with Peter specifically, not with the Spider-Man aspects. With the Peter aspects, I feel like he was had a little bit too much personality, just in the sense of I expected him to be a bit more subdued based on how much everyone's talking up how much better this Peter Parker is than the other Peter Parkers.
Sure.
I thought it wasn't bad at all. I really liked it, but I don't think that they nailed the Peter Parker character. Spider-Man, on the other hand, best by far. man, him talking shit, loved all of it. I think I love the Amazing Spider-Man too, like the portrayal of Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, Andrew,
the quips and stuff were really, really good.
Yeah.
But this definitely did take it to another level, and all of him fanboying out over the other superheroes was great.
That Empire Strikes Back reference, that was great too.
Which is how weird is it that we live in a world where they can make those references because they're owned by the same company now.
Yeah,
thank goodness.
Like, you would have never seen that even 5 years ago. It's ridiculous. No, I mean, obviously the two standout moments for me was everything that had to do with Spider-Man, and I gotta be honest, like, as awesome as Spider-Man is, and I actually forgot that Paul Rudd was in the movie because there's so many fucking people in this movie, it's like impossible to keep it all straight. When they open up the van and he's like hung over in the back seat, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot Ant-Man's in this.
Yeah,
and everything he did made me laugh.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Everything.
Like, why it works so well is that, you know, up until then it was a more, not dark, but it was a very serious, morose Captain America movie, and then we immediately inject Spider-Man and Ant-Man, and they get to be comic relief and be funny and say funny stuff. It was awesome.
He's like, who's talking right now? He's like, it's your conscience. We don't talk that much.
Yeah, no, oh my god. So I actually think that Ant-Man was even better than Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
I thought Spider-Man was fucking great.
Yeah.
But like, I thought Ant-Man the movie, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, but like, and it had its moments. It was really funny, but man, this Ant-Man. This is primo shit.
I did not expect him to go big.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they were going to actually do that.
That was the oh shit moment.
And that was the best. I think that was the best moment of the entire film.
Yeah. 100%.
I think the fact that he's like, I tried it once in the lab and I passed out. Here it goes. Boom. And he started going. I was like, oh. The second he raised the thumb, I'm like, oh, he's gonna go big.
Yeah,
and it was a good wow. There were two really good wow moments. There was that, and one of the things that I was hoping, you know, they were able to do again, which they did, was when they actually started fighting, when they actually started running together, which is that you see in the trailers, you're like, oh god, this is gonna be so cheesy.
Yeah,
it actually worked. It hit. I was like, okay, here we go. And they did it right. It wasn't a drop dead fight. It was two friends who were fighting, trying not to hurt each other, but still trying to win.
Yeah.
And then when shit gets real, you actually felt that. But I liked all the interplay. I liked the interplay between Scarlett Johansson's character and Hawkeye, where she's like, are you pulling, like, they're pulling each other. You tell they're pulling punches from each other. He's just like, are we still friends? And he's like, it depends on how hard you're going to hit me. Like, that was all great stuff. The Black Panther character was great. I think he did a good job. I think that was one of the weird characters that was kind of shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
And you were like, why is he kind of like chasing around? It reminded me of Fast 7.
It's the normal
was
thing.
just like kind of in the background. You're
the
like,
whole time.
What the fuck, man?
It's the same thing, you know, with like I forget which one it was. I guess Winter Soldier. Where was that? Where Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are the Easter egg at the end?
Yes.
They were the Easter egg at the end.
Yeah. And the lights came up, and Christine asked me like, what's their deal? I'm like, I don't fucking know. And so Black Panther, I'm like, so is he just? He's like, it's title passed down and Warriors. I'm like,
you got it all.
So you're just really athletic, and the suit that's the stuff that's the Captain America shield just means that you can't get hurt and you can run really, really fucking fast. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, I think that's it. I thought they did a good job of introducing his normal human character.
Yeah. His human character is great. I love the actor. I love what he's doing.
I think it's a fine setup for the other movies.
He
but
has
I
no
agree
movie coming. Sure.
that he's definitely to me one of the weaker parts. But again. These movies.
He was cool though. I want to know more. I didn't want to know more about him. Now I do.
Where we know so many characters and we've been introduced over so many movies. They're like, I didn't give a fuck about Falcon when he was introduced in Captain America 2. It was like, all right, cool. I didn't know he was going to be in it. That's cool that he's here.
Yeah.
And then when he was in Ant-Man, it was like, oh shit. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, I like Falcon.
This was the first time where, and this isn't. The Sam Wilson character I've liked. I like how he talks to Cap. This was the first time I thought Falcon was cool.
Oh man!
Whereas like he was doing cool things
wings,
and
like,
blocking. Yeah, he was using.
Awesome.
Exactly. I was like, oh, okay, that's actually nice because before it has been really like stiff flying, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah. Why do I care?
But I just think that the as a universe as a whole, they do a really good job of putting things in there that when they first happen, I'm like, I don't really care. But then later I realized, oh fuck, because I didn't care then, now I care now.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch, I was like, I still don't really give a fuck about her, but her fight scenes and stuff were cool. Her using the powers, they explained it way better than they did in Age of Ultron. And I bought it. Like I bought her moving the gas and stuff. I bought a lot of it, but there was some things that I didn't. Like when the bomb happened and she was like, oops, like that early on in the movie.
Yeah. When she accidentally kills people. I thought that was perfectly natural. I mean, she still doesn't have complete control over powers. What I can't stand and what they really need to figure out how to get around is stop calling them enhanced, start calling them fucking mutants. Like they got to figure out a way to do that though, because it doesn't make any sense. Like a lot of these characters, like motivations is because they feel like outcasts, because they are mutants, because they don't belong to the human race, quote unquote, or they're homo superior or whatever it is, right?
I don't think you're gonna get that in this universe though, because like even look at the slate.
Never say never. Got Spider-Man. Like maybe they'll sign a deal with Fox and get the mutants back.
Well, I meant the fact that like I just think what you're talking about in terms of a story, I think X-Men and Fox do cover so well that now it's like Scarlet Witch doesn't have her own movie on the slate, right? So it's not like you're gonna get that motivation.
Yeah, this Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, where do they all come from?
They were experiments with
from the random Loki experiments, which is like it's shitty and whatever. But like, and I think that's why they killed off Quicksilver so easily. Where it's like they know that it's just like
they killed off Quicksilver because that character got trumped by Days of Future Past.
But I mean, I think that they did that, but they didn't know that when they were shooting it. You know, I think that they just knew. Like it's like whatever. Like no one gives a shit about this. Like let's move on. But they kept. I really liked the justice that they did for Scarlet Witch's character, just in the little things of like her relationship with Vision in the comics is awesome because it's a genuine, like there's actual emotion between them, and I like that this movie hinted at it just enough for me to be super satisfied, like as a fan of the comics and stuff and of them.
Because he likes her, right?
Because he likes, I mean, they have a relationship. But it's awesome in this movie, like the first scene when he like walks in and she's like, I told you not to do that. It's like that instantly gives like a weird sexual tension between them. And then throughout the movie, you just kind of
Did it?
I thought it.
I just thought I was like, funny ghost man. And it wasn't until he was making food and like he's stumbling for it. I was like, oh, he likes her. That's cute.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that I knew it. So
of course, you have exactly.
But I liked that. I liked that they gave me those little things because they very well could have not done that. I like Vision in the little sweater vest.
Cardigans,
I like that there was a lot of comic relief in this, and I think it's definitely needed in comic book movies.
Of course, agreed.
So. Just kind of segueing, the only issues that I sort of had was that it was a smaller story than I was expecting. And it's not necessarily bad. They gave me something different. They gave me something good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I sat there for the entire 2 hours. But the motivations of the guy at the end was a little bit like the main character was, or the main antagonist was just I mean, granted, this is one of those situations where it's like I want, exactly what they gave me before, but just a little bit different. This is completely different. But it still feels like old treaded territory, right? Like it's just a revenge flick. Some guy's just trying to tear him apart, and it works, and it's cool. And that guy, the actor, I forget his name, great actor, but
loved him in Burnt.
Was he in Burnt?
He was in Burnt, the Bradley Cooper movie. He was good in that. We're talking about the villain, right?
Yeah. I didn't
Zemo.
It was just kind of a cookie cutter character, right? I mean, that's what you have to have in this, right? Especially where these aren't necessarily playing into the bigger Infinity War sort of overarching plot line, right? But this guy's like, I guess what I'm reacting to is that I didn't give a shit about anything that happened in Age of Ultron, and this guy's main motivation was that like dropping a city on, and like I love that everyone blames the Avengers for this, right?
Yeah,
I guess it kind of was his fault because he did make Ultron, but at the same time, those are just it's just a little bit of a stretch for me, right? It's a little bit of a stretch that. You
orchestrated this entire plot and researched all this thing and da.
Well, that I don't mind so much because I like villains that have good motivation. I like smart villains. I like villains that I always talk about Lex Luthor. That's what I want Lex Luthor to do. Except I don't want him to show up at the end, behind glass and be like, "This is what I did." Like I'm in a monologue right now. I just want Lex Luthor to like win,
Yeah.
And then somehow at the end, through one little misstep, get tripped up and lose. But I just, you just kind of get to the end and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to catch him. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But I mean, I felt like the motivations for why he was doing it was strong enough. I feel like the way they set it up and the actual tension between Tony and Cap was good enough that I could forgive that. But at the same time, had that character been bigger, it would have overshadowed sort of that sort of really intimate emotional connection those two had, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard. I mean, again, this is one of those where I feel like kind of a baby for complaining about, but that's the only part of the story where I wanted a little bit more.
I mean, honestly, you're hitting on something that I totally agree with, which is just these movies at their very best are just good.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the big issue is like, no matter how good these movies are, they aren't The Dark Knight in terms of like the being just a good movie. You don't need to put comic book movie before. You don't need to put anything. Right. This is just, it's fun. And that you can't take that away from it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that I would, grade against it because it's not a great movie. It's a lot of fun. And I feel like there's been some of these movies that aren't as much fun, But
the question I think becomes, and it's what, one of the things Colin's always beats the drums on Game Over Greggy is like, if that's all they are, how long can it last? Because this is the first one where I left and I'm like, if it wasn't for Spider-Man, and I guess that's a lie. I don't remember, like Winter Soldier, everybody's always like is amazing. And I'm like, I don't really remember. I was definitely wasn't blown away when I watched it, and now it's like, okay, they bring the helicarriers down. The elevator scene was cool. It's like, and that's Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man, this movie, I'm leaving. Like it was fun. It was fine. I don't need to see it again. And like Ant-Man was like, I remember the thing with Anna.
Connor.
Yeah, that was really funny. I loved the
train sequence.
Paul Rudd stuff. I don't remember the train sequence.
Thomas one, yeah.
Oh, that totally ruined by the trailers. Fuck
Still
that.
amazing though.
But it's like that's the thing is like I feel like
That was
now
amazing.
with the Marvel slate, and not a knock against Marvel, just because they're doing it so successfully, so there's so many of them, it is becoming one big blur. Where it's like Doctor Strange, I see that trailer and I'm like, just no interest whatsoever. But I'm sure you guys are gonna want to go see it, so I'll go see it.
That's my thing. I have no interest whatsoever, but I know it's going to be good. You know, and I know that I might not care that movie, but when he shows up in another one, by that point, it will have earned it. And I think that's the thing is like, it's the equivalent to reading comics. There are great comics out there.
Right. There's a lot of crap, yeah.
I mean, I'm not even saying there's a lot of crap. I think
filler.
Overall, there's a lot of filler, and it is kind of just, no matter what you're talking about when it comes to these superheroes, there's always going to be the shining gems of the Dark Knight Returns comic, which is amazing, and all a couple Kingdom Come and stuff like that. But overall, even the best comics, usually it's just a lot of stories with characters you care about. So they just kind of keep going. And when you look at like the 90s X-Men cartoon or the Spider-Man cartoon or any of the cartoons, it's like, it just kind of grows. And that's what makes it good, is that it keeps happening and there is stories and it's a universe. That's why it's good, is there's a universe.
I guess it's
that works.
weird after, you know, now that I'm a 33-year-old man who waited and fought his entire life. No, I didn't fight. Waited his entire life.
For the good fight.
For comic book movies to be a thing, right? That we're finally to the point where it's just like, Thor Ragnarok? Like, really? Like, I don't need to see.
Do you feel like you've
But then
aged
they're
out?
like, Hulk might be in Thor Ragnarok. And I'm like, fuck, I do like the Hulk. You know what I mean? But it's the same way with like comics. There's a million comics and I don't read the majority of them, right? Because I'm like, I just don't care about this character. I don't care about the And so here we are where it's just like, like an investment to go see these things. But I do want to be briefed on everything, and I do want to know so that when we get to Infinity War, I'm not like, who's this guy? Why is he doing this? Da, da, da.
But the thing about it is you never need to know. Like if there's characters that they bring back, they'll re-explain it. Or it's just like, I can kind of put it together. And the thing is, and I realized this watching this movie, I also thought about it for the last couple Marvel movies I watched. Who cares what's happening? They're telling you, they're going to re-explain it. At the very end, they'll explain it again.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's confused. If it's confusing, it's meant to not make sense. And it's because it doesn't make sense. And it will later because they're going to reveal that he had a plan all along.
Yeah, that was like the thing with like the when they, you know, the opening of the movie, right, is Bucky's mission to what it turns out to kill Howard Stark or to get the stuff out of the trunk.
Yeah.
And when that initially happened, I'm like, what was that? Whatever. I'm sure they're gonna come back and explain this. I don't need to worry. Oh, Porty's choosing Nick.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'll sort of mirror. Oh shit, he slipped through. Does that happen to you sometimes?
Well, no, he's just prepared that you're gonna catch him and hold him.
Got it. God, he's putting out a lot of heat this one.
It's true, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sort of back up what you said, Tim. Look, if you want a truly transcendent movie-going experience, go see The Revenant, right? Go see movies like Interstellar. There are those movies that are still here. They can both exist at the same time. These are not those movies. These are movies based on comic books starring characters named Captain America and Iron Man. They're good. They're fun. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. I turned my brain off. I enjoyed. I laughed. I ate half of Greg's popcorn. I got a $5 refill on my soda, which actually was just another soda. Okay. Because they don't give refills at that theater.
Good Lord. You peed twice.
And I enjoyed myself, right? I mean, we all hung out. We had a good time for 2 hours. I heard Kevin laugh a bunch. He's got that beautiful angelic laugh. And that's what it is. But like, I don't know. I mean, I think back to the movies. There was one comic book movie that is really stand out that really, really did it for me. That's The Dark Knight. The second favorite is probably Iron Man, just because it was the first one. It was the one that I was like, holy shit, this is the future. This is what they're going to try to emulate every single time. Yeah.
It was new when that happened. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was holy shit. Anything like when at the end when he asked Iron Man, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing too is like we are spoiled. Like you see the fight scenes in this movie, and it's like honestly, besides the Avengers first big fight when the spinning circle and like when it goes through the whole city following each character. Besides that, the Giant Man fight in this. That was fucking amazing. I don't think anyone's even came close to that.
Yeah.
And like that, it's just funny that we're so used to this stuff that the opening action scenes of this movie are just, oh, I guess they're okay. No, they're fucking incredible.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They are awesome. We're just so desensitized to it that it's like whatever.
I thought
even when it's characters like Scarlet Witch or Black Panther or all, like whatever, like these side characters, or Falcon. We fucking cared about Falcon fighting today.
Yeah.
I think that's impressive.
No,
you know?
It is. Yeah.
No, I think the Russo brothers really know how to push it, and they did a great job with this. And they they managed to do the same thing that I've seen in the last 4 films somehow better than I've seen it before to keep me still interested. Like I actually genuinely, I got fatigue watching Age of Ultron. But this, I was like, this is fun. They're keeping, like, the choreography, they're thinking outside the box, doing some fun stuff. The inclusion of Ant-Man and Spider-Man, you could tell was like, okay, how the fuck are we going to make these people fight each other?
And how do we make
And you can
them
tell
awesome?
that someone in the writer's room or someone somewhere was like, what if they do the thing from Star Wars?
Yeah.
And then they did the thing from Star Wars.
Nah,
and then
that's great.
they're like, what if we said, hey, if you guys have Spider-Man say, you guys ever see that old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he
do
said,
this.
"Hey, did you ever see that old movie?" and then there was like a pause, I'm like, "Oh, what's he gonna say?"
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Do it, Spidey.
I thought the camera work too during the fight scenes. Like Kevin disagreed with me. We were talking about this a little bit, but I thought it was actually pretty impressive for a superhero movie, a modern 2016 action movie. Like I thought that the choice to have the fight in the airport gave them space to kind of have the camera wide, and when they all ran at each other, you could see them one-on-one fighting with each other,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just garbled shit flying all over the place. And I thought that there was a couple beautiful shots. Like earlier on, there was an action scene where Captain America, I think, was fighting Winter Soldier at that point. And there was a tracking shot where the camera moved with them through like multiple rooms, and it just like went right with them. And again, the choreography was like on point. Like they put thought into the fight scenes where it's not just people hitting each other, it's people hitting each other moving with the camera, and it makes you feel like you're involved a lot more. And I appreciate that stuff because they don't always do that.
Well, and it's really hard too. Like you guys have to, like, you have to figure out how to keep all the characters quote unquote busy while you're choosing to focus on whoever the leads are going to be at that specific shot, right? The only thing that stood out to me was there was one part where I was like, where the fuck is Vision?
See, I had a moment where I was like, what the fuck Scarlet Witch
Yeah, what the
doing
fuck
in
is
the
Scarlet Witch doing?
airport?
Like, and this is the problem too. With like Scarlet Witch is so powerful, she probably could have just snapped her fingers and stopped the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen? Who gives a fuck? Like
That's when it
didn't
comes
happen
down to
because
it's
maybe they didn't want to hurt each other,
turn
right?
your
Yeah.
brain off. Yeah.
Well, so the other thing about the comic book movie stuff is like I do love that they just commit to it. Like there's this movie was pretty brutal. Like there was some scenes where I was like, damn, like they went there in terms of like getting punched in the face by Bucky's arms. Like Bucky killing Iron Man's dad was like, whoa.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
pretty
fucked
violent.
up.
Bucky getting his arm ripped off. Like there was a couple really, and Captain America and Iron Man's last fight was like, oh, I didn't expect him to go there.
Yeah.
But I am impressed less by the brutality of it, but more by even early on, Captain America gets thrown off of a building and just kind of goes, bah, bah,
Yeah,
bah,
yeah, that
and
did look
bounces
really
off.
good.
And he was totally fine, you know, and he's just running around. I'm like, okay, this is this universe. They are just freaking punching bags, and it's
Yeah, I mean,
It's cool.
I wish it wasn't like that, but it has to be, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow's character should be dead. She got punched into like 30 pylons. Like, a human being can't take that, but you forgive it because guess what? It's a movie called Captain America: Civil War,
Yeah.
starring Captain America, Iron Man, and the Black Widow.
But I think that they
it's
deserve
fine.
it in that they set it up. They set it up with the shots of Captain America falling and banging around being totally cool. That it's like when it happens to some of these lesser characters, I'm okay
Yeah,
with it.
it's okay, but I mean, like Falcon and Black Widow aren't metahumans, right? Or enhanced or whatever the fuck we're
Yeah.
calling them in this universe. They're just normal human beings that are really good at like acrobatic
stuff.
jujitsu. So yeah, it is a little bit weird when the story starts to break with its own logic of like, I get that Captain America and Winter Soldier can fall off a building and still live. They're super soldiers. They went through the serum. We saw the whole
serum.
thing where, they were tortured and he was a little dude, went in, came out a big dude. Now he's got the tensile muscle strength of like steel
of a captain.
cables,
He
right?
got
how
bit
much
by a
did you-
radioactive captain.
Freaking love that helicopter scene, Nick.
Oh, well, at first I was like, man, Chris Evans is, because when you see him in clothes, he's obviously buff and tall, so he looks a little skinny. I was like, hey, he's looking a little skinnier than he was before. Then he holds the chopper, and I'm like, no, he worked out for this. He worked out hard, and God bless him.
God bless.
So did Black Panther. That dude was huge. I forget the actor's name, but he was like,
I don't know.
he was jacked out too.
Yeah, big issues I had with it. I thought that Hawkeye was poorly explained and kind of showed up out of nowhere, and I didn't feel like it was really earned. I get it. At that point, it is just how do we get him here?
Right.
And like they gave enough of a reason, but it was
He
just
has a
like,
debt.
yeah, it's like, all right, he had a debt. Captain America, I guess, hit him up and whatever. But it's like, there was a lot of parts of the movie that felt very thrown together to me where I was just like, all right. And I feel like especially the first third of the movie was kind of just setting up a whole bunch of stuff. And I was waiting for the fun stuff to happen. Like you're talking about like waiting for Spider-Man. I was just like, okay, cool. I don't care about the talking. Stop talking. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's bad because I'm being a hypocrite of I want a good movie, but I want them to stop talking. So it's like, okay, all I want just action scenes. But then it's like the action scenes are what you remember from these movies. You know, it's
Sure.
what
I
you
mean, for me,
talk
it wasn't
about.
even, it was just about getting to the, and this is just, you know, my own bias as a fan of just getting to the characters I cared about, right? That's the big thing. I'm just like that whole, first third. I'm just like, all right, like none of you are really my boys. You know what I mean? Like Vision, Scarlet Witch, whatever. You know, okay, cool. Captain America, I mean, all right, well, Peggy Carter's dead. She did promise you a dance. I understand why you're hung up on her for 70 fucking years. That's totally makes sense. All right, cool. Right out of that.
Wait, he wasn't that hung up on her.
Yeah, I know.
So-
I know. Now
hey,
he's
I'm so happy.
Now
that
he's
happened.
finally
That is
kissing
awesome.
her. What is it? What was it? Niece. Her-
Niece,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
great.
I guess.
That's
yeah.
not. That's
Or
not weird at all for her.
grandniece.
This-
Not weird at all for her.
This might be a stupid question. I don't remember, and I don't know if you guys know the answer. It felt like they revealed that she was the niece in this movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because
weird.
she was saying she was like, I hit it because I
haven't
didn't
told
want.
anybody. I was like, oh god. I thought we already knew that before, but
I mean, again, this is the strength of the writing, but it's also a curse of having to kind of tie all these characters in. At no point did I think there were any leaps in logic. I was waiting to see if they would kind of catch up, like a trip up on themselves. They didn't. Everything was it was supported.
yeah.
Everything had a reason to happen, and it fell in a logical chain of events. Whether or not that was like everything was like super well supported, all right, or you're like, oh, I really believe that. No, but that's what happens when you have 18 lead characters, and they
Well,
all have to have motivations for why they're doing what they're doing.
in the, you know, one of the ones that I've always had this not issue with, again, because it's a comic book movie, I'm totally down. I let so much go in all these movies. But when fucking Spider-Man finally says what we were all been thinking, it was just like, man, that shield does not obey the law of physics. I was like,
right.
yes, right?
Yeah,
How does
yeah.
it do any of the things it does?
Yeah, the Spider-Man character, I will say, like I was actually put off a little bit by the actor at first because it was different. I was expecting Andrew Garfield, and Andrew Garfield style, like introvert, a little bit more introverted, kind of like he played a kind of more of a. He felt a bit older. He felt a little bit more like a skater punk, right? They had him on the board. He looked a little cooler. This kid reads to me like a freshman in high school that gets picked on a lot, but is super smart, which I feel like is right where Spider-Man needs to be.
And this is going to say something, it's going to maybe sound weird. He also felt like a New Yorker, if that makes sense.
He had a very big New
You know
York
what I mean?
accent.
And,
That's why.
and that was the thing of just like, oh, right. Like, Andrews never had that. Toby
At
didn't
all.
have that.
At all,
They didn't
yeah.
feel like they were like New York people, but you feel like a New York person already.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be Spider-Man's gonna be good.
I liked it because it felt like, and don't get me, we're not going to get started down this tangent, but I liked
Nick,
I
don't
like
do
the
it, don't do
relationship
it.
the younger Spider-Man has with the older Avengers and trying
okay
to be
with
an
that.
Avenger.
Okay, I
Right.
thought you were gonna say some bullshit.
Just
I'm
like
okay
the
with
phenomenal
that
cartoon
statement.
series Ultimate
Fuck you.
Spider-Man,
No,
which
God,
is the
you-
superior Spider-Man series, still going, I think. if I'm not mistaken.
Spectacular is the superior Spider-Man.
No, but I like that. But
Let's
I
not
like that
forget the 90s
Spider-Man's
one.
not an old guy. I like that he's a kid
Yeah.
who's still trying to.
100%.
He looks up to the Avengers as heroes, and he wants to be one day. I think that's a really, really cool place to position that character.
So okay, speaking of all that stuff, like I think a big part of these Marvel movies is how they set up the next Marvel movies, and I was kind of let down by Age of Ultron and Iron Man 3 and a couple of the more recent ones where I was just like, all right, because it's so funny that they've conditioned us to watch these movies to find out what movie we're excited for.
Sure.
You know, I think this
It
one
works 'cause I'm
succeeded
totally excited for Spider-Man.
yeah. And then they set up Black Panther, which is like, all right, cool. They did enough for me where I'm like, it's a very Thor-esque story there where like, I don't care, but I'm going to watch it. You know, they sold me enough.
Yeah.
And we'll see if the movie ends
It's
up being
double A,
good.
right?
Yeah.
It's not triple A. Spider-Man's going to be a triple A movie.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I mean, that's an A-list, like, this can be a standalone franchise on its own that's actually bigger than the Avengers. At least it has the possibility of being that. Whether or not they can come through with it, we'll see. I mean, my only issue is like how much better can it be than Amazing Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? Which everyone,
Spider-Man 2, everyone hates. Spider-Man 2, people love.
I'm sorry, Spider-Man 2 and then the Amazing Spider-Man, which I
like.
actually thought was a good movie. And that was the Andrew Goldfarb movie.
Yes.
Or not Goldfarb, excuse me.
It's once it gets in your head, it's
Garfield.
over. It's like
Garfield.
it's like some computer virus. Once it's there, you can't
Jesus,
get rid of it.
Goldfarb's everywhere. But I mean, that's my problem. Is like, what are we really expecting from that? Like, I'll be happy and pleasantly surprised if they blow me away. But I just don't think. I mean, I don't think it can get from like an action standpoint much better than that. Now, character development's a different story, but like. The action I thought in Amazing Spider-Man when he's fighting Lizard and things like that, I thought it was really well choreographed and it felt like Spider-Man and he had the quips and he had the look.
Yeah, no, there's
And he
a
had
lot,
the cool
a lot
suit.
of good about
and so
him.
it's like, what else can we possibly do with this? We'll
See,
have to
that's
wait
my
and
thing.
see.
I think the answer is a lot. I do think that Spider-Man has enough versatility left in him that we haven't seen in the 5 movies.
The one thing
we've
that
had.
I think will be really, really interesting to see them do with the new Spider-Man is that for the first time in a cinematic sense, I think they've and even, I mean, comic sense too, in a while, and leaving Ultimate out of it, right, is that they are very much saying he's not on the level of the Netflix heroes of Daredevil, who's just a dude who patrols Hell's Kitchen, but he's not an Avenger. He is this kid in the middle. And so I'm expecting it to be a step up of similar to what we're talking about here, where it's not, oh
Saving
my
the
God,
world.
New York City's going to explode on itself if this doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, like,
Vultures attacking.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
part of the city.
Like, he's got a plan and it's very personal, and this is how it's working. And Tony Stark's involvement, I imagine, is that on one of the things, his suit gets totally fucked up, right? So he has to go to Stark Tower, and he's like sitting there with the paper bag on his head while somebody works on his suit or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
And I like that. And actually, I love that they can actually back up some of this stuff with the other characters too, right? Because for so
so cool.
long,
So
the
fun.
original Spider-Man, you're just like, where, how did he get all this stuff? Now it's
Exactly.
explained.
Yeah,
Stark
yeah.
Tech. Done.
Done.
Done. Don't need any more than that.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, talking about the ending of this movie, like I'm not surprised that nobody died. We were talking about it right before
Yeah,
we
it's
went
not
in,
Marvel.
and it's just like, that's not Marvel. They could have done something, and like I was saying, that it wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility for Captain America to die, not be in Avengers Part 1, be in Avengers Part 2. And just that would have a nice feeling of comic book to
Yeah.
it. But I like the direction that they took with this. And I also like that at the end of the movie, we're in a really good place of this movie had a cause and effect. Things actually happened. It progressed things. There was tension between all these characters, but they're still friends. There's the cell phone. He can still get the call, but things aren't resolved.
No.
You know? And
they
even
may
as
not be.
I like that there was that nice thing of, even at the very end, after he gets the shit beat out of him, Tony's reading the letter, and it's pretty much Captain America saying, hey, we're cool. We're still cool. While that's happening, he's going against and breaking everyone out. It's like,
Right.
I like that there's still that sense of who is the more popular one, you know, or Captain America or Iron Man. I think that that's a very necessary battle that these movies need to kind of own, because like they are the most popular parts of these things besides Spider-Man.
I don't did they own it? Like, did things really change? You're right. I think we're right. So like, as soon as shit hits the fan in Avengers Infinity War 1, right, it is going to be flip open the phone and we're back at it and everything's fine. And I don't think you're going to get a resolution of them having a heart to heart and really talking it out and I think it's just going to do just like what I always bitch about with Iron Man 3 The Age of Ultron, right? Of like, I've blown up all my suits. I have PTSD. I got the Iron Legion and I'm Iron Man. Hey.
Right.
Like, are they even, I'll be impressed if they even double back to address the Gwyneth Paltrow shit in this. Was that just a plot point to have them have this heart to heart, we are friends moment here? I'm actually opening up to you when I open up to nobody. Or is it going to be that we get to Age of Ultron or Avengers Infinity or whatever, Iron Man's next thing, and Pepper's here, or she's not, and it doesn't matter because I'm Iron Man.
So actually, I rewatched Iron Man 3 was on a plane when I was looking at when we went to Boston or something. I don't know. And I rewatched it because I was like, yeah, I've always been right there with you with the end of Iron Man 3 to the Avengers 2 is like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And it's like the one thing, and I'm not saying that this is a freaking completely bulletproof argument, but the whole thing was about him being like, he is Iron Man. It's not the suits. And those suits, but the legion of them and stuff, that was just kind of having a thing of security of him feeling the need to, because he was so traumatized and shit, feeling like he needs to protect everyone around him with all of this false shit, when really he is Iron Man. So it's not so much he's getting rid of being Iron Man. It's more him understanding that he doesn't need this false sense of protection. It is just him with the armor, him wearing the armor, but not this whole like robotic thing. But then that Ultron stuff, again, not foolproof.
Okay.
And again, I cannot reiterate this enough. These movies are not amazing. They are just very good. Good to very good.
Yeah.
See, the one thing about it is, I think Avengers was amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I can think of very few experiences in my movie-going lifetime where I've smiled that broadly and left a movie and just been on, like, that was like drugs. Like, that was so good, and I was into everything, and every moment was so perfect. And again, as always, it was the climax to this road we'd been on for so long. From when we had the first Easter egg in Iron Man. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
To get there and have that moment. Like, yeah, of course, from there on out, the berries are never as sweet because we've already done it. But it's like,
I feel like this was the second climax, though, in a lot of ways. So Avengers 2 was not. And I feel like that was pretty clear even from the first couple trailers, where it's like, okay, it looks good, but like everyone knew it wasn't going to have that same feeling because there wasn't the same amount of buildup. I think this had a special something going for it because of Spider-Man specifically,
Sure.
where it's like, holy shit, Spider-Man's going to be in the Marvel Universe. What does that mean? Oh my God, we're getting Civil War? That's crazy. I never thought we'd get that. And it's like, I mean, it's like having sex twice in a row. You know, it's great the first time. The second time's great too, but I mean,
could have just watched Golden Girls.
You never finish quite as hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, diminishing returns.
I think they have their work cut out for them, right? Like we do need to build up to Infinity War. I think that has the potential to be something awesome. Right?
I mean, that's another one I would agree with you. 4 years ago, like, what is taking Thanos so long? Get the fuck down here! Are you kidding me?
I'm definitely cautiously optimistic about those two. I think that this is the.
Where did we see Thanos? Is he gonna?
He was at the end of Avengers.
But was he also in No, he wasn't in Guardians, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
He
had a cameo,
like a cameo.
Because the dude, the whatever, the British guy with the bleedy face had who was
Collector.
No, not the Collector. The main villain in Guardians is originally trying to get the stone for Thanos.
Oh,
because
yeah,
he gets the stone and he's going to take the stone.
Right. He puts it in his thing.
Right. No,
And they
Thanos,
take that and they give it to
Thanos
the
is in a
Noble Corps.
fucking gajillion movies. And it's like, gee. And but that was one of the reasons leaving Avengers. That was like, on top of the movie being awesome, on top of Hulk being awesome, on top of did they kill Iron Man? They didn't. The top of shawarma. It was like, holy shit, Thanos is gonna be there. He's really coming, and this is gonna, and I'll do it myself. Like, that was actually later. I'm sorry. It was just the grin in Avengers or whatever. It was just like, what a fucking perfect, amazing movie.
Right.
And then it's just every time like,
We've had 8 movies since.
what is he? Why is he taking
How far
so
is
long?
he?
Yeah.
Where is he on the other side of that interdimensional portal? What's going on there? Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, it's fatigue, but this one managed to keep my attention for 2 hours. I liked it. I would say go see it. Go see it on the big screen. It's fun. It's a fun popcorn flick.
Yes, absolutely.
I would say see it too. I mean, I do feel there were I liked it. Fine. It was fine. You know what I mean? It's just another Marvel movie for me that's fine. And that's, I think, that's definitely part of the fact that I just don't have a heritage with these characters outside of Spider-Man, because I was always down with Spider-Man. But that's, this weird thing of like, if I could have left this, you know what I mean? And like, I'll go see Strange and I'll go see Thor, especially if Hulk's in it. And but it's just, we're into this part where it's just this blur. And that's what I worry about with Infinity War of like, it's been such a blur to get to this Thanos thing. Does it still matter? Is it still resonant?
Yeah.
Well, they also have a lot to do to set that up too. I mean, they've got to do.
Yeah,
I mean, they've. Oh, you mean like still?
I think they've got a lot more plot points to see it out.
So we got
a big story.
Next up, Doctor Strange, November this year.
Yeah.
Sure.
May next year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Which is great because it's its own thing.
July next year, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Fuck yes.
November 3rd,
Probably around the same time the Sucker Punch game comes out.
next year, Thor Ragnarok. February 2018, Black Panther. May 2018, Avengers Part 1. July 2018, Ant-Man
Wait, when you
and
say
the Wasp.
Avengers, New Avengers Infinity War Part 1?
Avengers Infinity War Part 1, which is not going to be named that.
Right, it'll be something else. But.
Yeah. Ant-Man and the Wasp, July 2018. Damn, there's a lot in 2017, a lot in 2018. Not much this year.
I mean, we're not going to get a lot of the story in Thor, Black Panther, or Ant-Man, right?
Well, I think we are in Thor. I think Thor's.
Do you think Thor's going to be about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Thor and Guardians are going to kind of start setting up the Thanos stuff.
Interesting.
Because it's all
It has to, right?
cosmic shit. And then Captain Marvel, March 2019, and then Avengers Infinity War Part 2, May 2019.
It'll be fascinating to see how that schedule actually holds.
Yeah. I mean, it's already moved around quite a bit.
Black Panther and Wasp, those are the kind of movies where I'm just like,
Those already moved.
Feel like they can move
And
worse
Captain
or fade
Marvel-
away or come back.
Captain Marvel moved.
Yeah,
too,
will we get
so-
to Captain Marvel? We'll see.
Yeah, that's a big question. Is Captain
Because
Marvel?
like in Humans, right? That's the one they did drop from the slate, or they moved
Yeah.
so far on they just don't.
Yeah, that's after even in Part 2.
If that
Did
happened,
they reschedule it? Or they just dropped it?
No, they moved it, and then
Oh,
the
they moved
rumor
it.
was like, is it really going to keep
Oh,
going?
okay, that's what it was.
Yeah. Anyways, I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot. Had some really fucking awesome moments. Some of the best moments in the Marvel MCU, I think. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time.